Hello and welcome to RatTube. In today's video we're just going to go over the basics of rat care.
Just to give you a little bit of an introduction into what it takes to look after these little guys, how much time, space, toys, everything like that you might need to know.
The most important thing is time. Ideally, a minimum of 2 hours a day is what you need.
It sounds like a lot, but by the time you add everything up, it actually isn't, and you know, some people will say it's a lot, but to take care of them properly and make sure they're well looked after, it is really what's required.
And a lot of people probably think that small animals are a lot easier to look after than, say, a cat or a dog, and take a lot less time. In actual fact, they might just take more time than what a cat or dog does, because they have their own cage, their own home. That needs cleaning out. Obviously, they're not going to do it themselves. Whereas with a cat or dog, they've got the free range of your house.
It's also the free range time that takes a lot of time up. You have to set up and everything else as well, so always consider that before you get this sort of small animal.
So, how many rats should you get? Well, as many as you want, really, as long as you've got the room for them. But ideally, the minimum is 2.
They always say an only rat is a lonely rat, and it's true. They need their own interaction with their own species as well as humans, so always consider that.
So if you've got a rough idea of how many rats you want to look after, you'll need to make sure you get a cage the right sort of size that's suitable for that amount. The general guidelines say 2 cubic feet per rat. There are some online guides. In fact, I'll put a link in the description to a calculator where you can put in your cage dimensions, and it should tell you how many rats it is suitable for.
Bear in mind that this is a guideline. It's a minimum. You don't want them to be cramped. And also make use of the space that you do have. Make sure you have the right accessories in there, hammocks, swinging things, toys and everything else, just to maximise the space that you do have.
Now what you will need to have in the cage is at least 1 hidey hole per rat, so they've got their own little area that they can run away from the others if they need to. Not because they're being bullied or anything like that. It's very rare that sort of thing happens. It's just that sometimes they do like their own space. I mean, they are very sociable with each other. They usually do sleep all together, but sometimes some of them like to be left alone, so it's ideal to have at least 1 hidey hole each.
The more the merrier, though, at the end of the day. Just means that if they are fed up, they can run away and hide. And it's more for it running away from you as well, just they need somewhere to feel safe.
Yes.
One thing to consider when you're setting up your home for your rats is a litter tray. They usually assign their own corner when they get in their cage, but to make the cleaning out process a little bit easier, you can put a litter tray in this corner. We use Back to Nature, which is a small animal bedding substrate. It's recycled cardboard, as demonstrated by my lovely assistant. And we usually get the 30 litres. It lasts about 6 weeks, so it doesn't work out too expensive.
It's heavy! Whoa! But yeah, that stuff is one of the recommended ones for rats, because there are some other ones out there which other communities have said that it's not so good for rats.
Be very careful, because some do contain wood oils, like pine, which we'll go into a little bit more detail in another video, but there are certain things that you should really avoid when it comes to rats and their health.
And of course, in the cage, it's good to have plenty of toys for them to be entertained by. Like this sort of thing. This is a wooden, chewy, rattly thing.
Actually called a knot nibbler.
That's the one I was looking for. Which, yeah, they've had a good go at that. But yeah, there's all sorts of things you can get. Wheels. Now, when it comes to wheels, a lot of people might think that a normal hamster wheel would be alright. In fact, really, hamster wheels are a lot smaller, and that can actually be a bit harmful to their spines if they're having to arch their spines back. So, biggest wheel you can find, we have a silent spinner, which is, what's that, 12 inch?
12 inch is the minimum recommended size. If you can get bigger, then even better. There is a reason we don't have this in the cage anymore. Unfortunately, they have taken to chewing the nut that keeps it tied on, so every morning we were coming down and finding the wheel on the floor.
Yes, and then because the wheel was coming off, that exposed the bearings and mechanisms at the back, and then they've chewed on that, so this thing just does not spin smoothly anymore, unfortunately. I mean, it doesn't stop Sky and Harley from having a good play in it while they're out.
Some people don't agree with having a wheel for rats. They think they're dangerous. As long as you've got the size right, then it doesn't cause any concerns, and it does keep them occupied. It gives them good exercise and makes sure they're fit and healthy.
Now, you're not restricted to just rat-branded toys or small rodent toys. The sort of thing that birds have, bird chewers, things like that, should be fine.
Ladders, ropes, tunnels, even your kitchen roll, toilet roll tubes, keep hold of them. They're useful for them to chew on.
Yep. The only thing to be aware of is anything made of pine wood.
Pine contains a particular oil that's actually harmful for their respiratory systems, so make sure you do keep an eye on that.
As for food and water, water's quite easy. It's best to use the sippy bottles rather than a bowl, because they tend to tip the bowls up. So yeah, if you use one of the traditional cage-mounted sippy bottles, you'll know the ones I mean when I put a picture on the screen. It's like most animals have them. And as for food, this is another area to sort of be cautious of, because in most, certainly big chains of pet stores, they sell bags of small animal food, which they say suitable for hamsters, rats, guinea pigs, blah blah blah. In actual fact, some of the stuff that's in them packaged foods aren't suitable for rats.
For example, corn. Dried corn contains a fungus that is known to be harmful to rats. Muesli mixes tend to promote selective feeding. They'll eat what they want, they'll leave what they don't. They also contain alfalfa, which although is good for rabbits, it's not necessarily good for rats. It's not very good for their digestive system, and they do tend to leave it behind.
This is the stuff we use. Selective rat food. Available in all good pet stores and some rubbish ones as well.
It contains all the necessary things that they need, but doesn't allow for the selective feeding that I was saying with muesli mixes.
And of course, if your rat's got the right diet, their claws and teeth generally, they take care of themselves. You don't need to get them trimmed at the vets like some people have you believe. And lastly, and certainly not leastly, free range time. It's quite important. They do need a good free range time out of the cage. We give ours a minimum of 1 hour every day, and yeah, they love their free range time, and they get a good chance to interact with you as well, build up their trust with you, and lots of good stuff.
It's also the optimum time for training, treats, and just general socialising.
Some basic tips for free ranging is just making sure that they've got a safe area to run around in. There's no exposed cables, plug sockets that they can chew on, and
Things
like
that they can climb.
Yeah, things that they can climb and do harm, or things that you don't want them chewing, because they will chew. They will chew things.
They will chew things that you didn't think it was possible to chew.
Yeah. Ideally, if you've got a room that you can dedicate to the rats, then that makes things a bit easier, because all you got to do is close the door and let them out. With ours, we've got to have these cardboard barriers each side of the living room, so they've got a suitable area to play in. What we'll probably do is do a video on our free range time, so you can just sort of see what goes on, what they get up to, and yeah, they do get up to some mischief sometimes. And we are starting to, well, we've been training them for a little while. We're trying to sort of take that to the next level with them, with some of the tricks that they're learning. So yeah, you'll probably get to see a bit of that too.
If there is any questions that you do have about things that we have or haven't covered, then please feel free to leave a comment below.
And of course, if you like what you see, remember to hit the thumbs up button. And if you want to see more videos, of course, please click subscribe. So thank you all for watching. I hope you've enjoyed the video. We'll see you on the next one.